Aloha and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on this Monday, April 10th. We begin with another U.S. community impacted by a mass shooting, this time in Louisville, Kentucky.
That's right. 4 people are dead and at least 9 others were injured when a gunman opened fire at a bank. Now, as Christian Benavides reports, the 23-year-old shooter who was killed by police was a bank employee.
Police descended on an Old National Bank branch in downtown Louisville to find a gunman still firing shots.
The suspect has been identified as Connor Sturgeon, white male, 23 years of age, who was employed at Old National Bank. His weapon of choice was a rifle.
Officers exchanged gunfire with the suspect, who died at the scene. Police named 4 victims who were killed inside.
Tommy Elliott, 63 years of age. Jim Tutt, 64 years of age. Josh Barrett, 40 years of age. And Juliana Farmer, 57.
Today, I'm hurt.
Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear fought back tears as he addressed the latest mass shooting.
We lost 4 children of God today, one of whom was one of my closest friends.
Caleb Goodlet's wife works inside the building.
I got a call from my wife panicking that she was locked in the vault, that there was an active shooter in the building.
She took shelter inside along with other terrified workers.
They had a phone inside the vault. She was able to reach me. I haven't heard about her coworkers yet or anything, but I have talked to her and seen her. She's fine.
Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg said his city has set up a family assistance center for anyone affected by Monday's event.
Whether you were physically hurt or not, I know that you're hurting too. We are here for you.
Authorities are asking the public for any information related to this latest shooting as they begin their investigation. Christian Benavides, CBS News.
President Biden is once again calling on Republicans to act on gun reform. He took to Twitter, saying in part, quote, "Too many Americans are paying for the price of inaction with their lives. When will Republicans in Congress act to protect our communities?" Despite Biden's urging for legislative action on guns, it's currently unlikely given the divided Congress.
Meanwhile, reports of nearby gunshots had concert goers running for their lives at a Hawaii-themed festival in Las Vegas over the weekend. It happened just before 10 p.m. on Saturday night at the 20th annual Pure Aloha Festival. Witnesses say they heard gunshots coming from outside the fairgrounds. Several fights reportedly broke out at the festival before any guns were fired. It's unclear at this point if the incidents were related. The gunshots, however, sent the crowd running.
When I first heard the gunshots, I ran because I didn't know what was going through my head. I was like, okay, this is serious. I need to take cover. I need to hide.
Kids' strollers were trampled over. I'm so glad there wasn't any kids in the strollers. They just came running out, trampling over strollers. An older woman who fell at the exit. No one stopped to pick her up.
Honolulu City Council member Augie Tobel was also there at the event and helped organize it. No injuries have been reported. The festival resumed yesterday. Organizers say they take extra precautions to ensure the grounds were safe.
The search continues for the suspect in that horrific attack of a woman in Mililani. It happened late Friday in a parking lot on Kipapa Drive. Police officials now confirm the suspect first fired a gun at the 20-year-old victim before throwing a chemical liquid at her. She was taken to Straub for treatment, and sources say she suffered what appeared to be chemical burns over the majority of her body. Nearby residents we spoke with say this is the latest incident in a perceived rise in violence in the area.
Recently, say within the last year, we've seen a lot of uptick in terms of problems like that. It's not that long ago that it was real peaceful. I could leave my doors unlocked. We had neighbors that knew each other, and as a result, we kind of take care. We have kind of like a mini neighborhood watch.
It's not known if the victim was targeted or if this was a random attack.
We're learning more information after a dangerous weekend on Hawaii roads. 2 people have died following a crash in Makaha on Sunday, according to authorities. It happened at around 6 p.m. yesterday on Farrington Highway, across from Kea'au Beach. HPD says a 36-year-old motorcyclist was speeding when he struck a car that was making a U-turn. The motorcyclist was ejected from the bike and hit the pavement. He was taken to a hospital in critical condition where he later died. The motorcyclist was wearing a helmet at the time. The impact of the crash also caused the car to flip onto its side. HPD says the 60-year-old driver was taken to the hospital in critical condition but later died. He was not wearing a seatbelt. HPD says speed appeared to be factors in the crash, but it's unknown if drugs or alcohol were also involved. There was a terrifying encounter in waters off Kewalo Basin over the weekend. Our Casey Lunn tells us about the apparent shark bite.
And for the most part out here at Kewalo Basin today, folks were heeding those warnings from ocean safety officials to stay out of the water. We didn't see a lot of activity out here, a few paddle boarders earlier in the morning, but pretty quiet day here off Kewalo Basin. We want to show you this video. It's from a surfline.com camera that captured that encounter yesterday morning. This happened around 7:30. The official information that we got from Honolulu EMS yesterday says this was a 58-year-old man who was out surfing when an apparent 8-foot tiger shark bit his leg. His nearby surfers were able to help him out, get him to shore. They actually created a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. EMS eventually took that man to the hospital. DLNR said when the other surfers came to that man's aid, they reported that the shark had returned and was acting aggressively. We talked to ocean safety officials yesterday after this happened.
We haven't had this happen in quite a while. This was definitely a major incident today, so that's why we're out here. We want to thank DLNR for being with us. They provided some skis and personnel, and they're just out here really helping us try to warn the public. Very fortunate for this individual too. The guys that he was surfing with, able to use that leash as a tourniquet, definitely saved his life.
Surfers and fishermen out here tell us that it's not that unusual to see tiger sharks here in the waters off Kewalo Basin, but an attack like this definitely has a cause for concern.
It's pretty crazy because, I've been out here multiple times boogie boarding and swimming and that sort of thing, or at least in this area. It's pretty crazy to hear. I mean, it's kind of close to home,
Pretty scared, but it's part of the ocean. Like sharks, we're going into their home. So although we really don't want that to happen, that's really sad. It is always a possibility, but it's really sad to hear that happen to that man.
And we were able to see Honolulu ocean safety officials out on their jet skis today patrolling the waters, but I did talk to one lieutenant who said that shark hadn't been spotted again since this all happened. They say, though, that you should pay attention to those warning signs when they're up and ask ocean safety officials, lifeguards, if it's safe to enter the water. Reporting at Kewalo Basin, I'm Casey Lunn. For now, we'll send things back to you.
Well, the abortion pill mifepristone is due to be pulled from the shelf by Friday unless the courts can issue a stay preventing a judge's order from taking effect. Now, that's setting up a potential legal fight that could go all the way to the nation's highest court. Nicole D'Antonio has more.
The Department of Justice has filed an appeal against a conservative federal judge's ruling, which suspends FDA approval for the abortion pill mifepristone. Writing, if allowed to take effect, the court's order would thwart FDA's scientific judgment and severely harm women, particularly those for whom mifepristone is a medical or practical necessity.
If the decision stands, it will put women's health at risk and undermine the FDA's ability to ensure patients have access to safe and effective medications when they need them the most.
Texas Judge Matthew Kaczmarek, a Trump appointee, ruled on Friday that the FDA improperly approved mifepristone 23 years ago, saying it ignored legitimate safety concerns about the drug.
We think that the judge totally got it right. The FDA has to go back. It has to be transparent with the public about the studies that it relied on to make its decisions, and it's got to follow the science.
Mifepristone is one of the safest and most effective medicines that we've seen over the last 20 years to help women with their health care, especially abortion care.
A federal judge in Washington state appointed by Obama blocked any changes to mifepristone's availability to the public in 17 states and the District of Columbia, where Democrats sued. The cases are likely headed to the Supreme Court, where the conservative majority may decide the case.
This administration stands by the FDA and is prepared for this legal fight.
Protests broke out over the weekend following the court's ruling.
This should not be normalized. This should outrage you.
Showing that abortion rights will likely remain very important to voters in next year's presidential election. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, the Supreme Court.
Shockwaves in the U.S. intelligence community after a leak of a series of highly classified documents went on social media. We're joined now by Gloria Pazmino for the latest on this. Hi, Gloria.
Hi, Ashley. You know, these documents reveal a very rare window into how the United States spies on its enemies, but also on its friends. And now they are investigating exactly what the source of this leak is.
An interagency effort is underway.
This level of breach is significant.
To determine the authenticity and impact of dozens of leaked Pentagon documents that were posted online in recent weeks.
If there's 50 classified documents, there's 50 separate stories that are going to impact on the ground in Ukraine right now.
The information contained in the document reveals the depths of U.S. spying on allies and foes alike.
Number one, the most important thing we have are our sources, and number two are our allies. And when those are both put in jeopardy, that makes us less secure and it makes our enemies more emboldened.
Some of the documents, which officials say are authentic, expose the extent of U.S. eavesdropping on allies, including South Korea, Israel, and Ukraine. Others seem to divulge key weaknesses in Ukrainian weaponry and military readiness, while some show the degree to which the U.S. has penetrated the Russian Ministry of Defense.
Its goal is to weaken our resolve, weaken our alliance.
But unlike previous intelligence leaks, U.S. officials believe some of the documents may have been altered.
These photos appear to show documents similar in format to those used to provide daily updates to our senior leaders on Ukraine and Russia. Some of these images appear to have been altered.
Now, a spokesperson for the Pentagon tells us that the U.S. is already in conversation with its allies about the leak and that they're putting steps into place to make sure that the flow of such sensitive documents is tightened so that this stuff doesn't happen again. Ashley?
Gloria, why do officials believe this was a leak and not a hack like we've seen in the past?
Yeah, that's one of the parts that is sort of interesting about this story. What you see are photos of the documents that have made the rounds on social media, and the documents appear wrinkled and crumpled, almost as if someone tried to remove them quickly from a safe location. The documents also have very specific markings that are recognizable by these intelligence officials, including that top secret marking, suggesting that what's contained in those documents is really of the highest sensitivity. And lastly, the documents are all very recent, from February and March, suggesting that these were leaked by someone or some people that had very clear and close access to them.
And do we know how bad this leak was, Gloria?
That is certainly part of what U.S. officials are trying to understand now. The reality is that we don't have a full picture yet. They are investigating. But what they're most concerned about in the immediate is the health and safety of our human intelligence, that it may have been compromised, people's identities being revealed. That also compromises sources and how we get our information and our intelligence. So that's one of the primary concerns. The second concern is that there's some information regarding military movements in Russia and Ukraine that was revealed as a result of this leak, and that has officials worried that those military operations are now going to be compromised now that this information has been released. But there is certainly going to be an investigation, and officials are taking a long look at this, not just to determine exactly where the leak came from or who or what may be behind it, but to make sure it doesn't happen again.
All right, Gloria Pazmino joining us this afternoon. We appreciate the time, Gloria.
Turning to Asia now, China launched a new round of military exercises overnight aimed at Taiwan. Dozens of warplanes buzzed Taiwan's airspace, simulating a potential attack to seize the island. Now, this follows a visit by Taiwan's president to the U.S., where she met with congressional leaders. Elizabeth Palmer reports.
In Taipei, Taiwan's capital and a city of 2.6 million people, it was a run-of-the-mill Monday morning rush hour. Even though Chinese warships, including for the first time the aircraft carrier Shandong, were offshore conducting military exercises, and Chinese fighter jets had flown into airspace claimed by Taiwan. But these drills were too far away to be seen from the island, so to make the point that this is a rehearsal for war, China released video and an animation of island targets on its hit list. But none of it seemed to faze the Taiwanese, taking a break on Taipei's network of cycle trails. After all, says Diana Lee, Chinese threats have waxed and waned for decades.
We live our life. We also have other challenges to face.
But these are unusually tense times, with two superpowers facing off. President Xi Jinping has said he will use force if necessary to take over Taiwan. And the U.S. is signaling more explicitly that it would come to Taiwan's defense. Meanwhile, Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen was in the U.S. openly calling for independence. And to Jolie Pan, that's playing with fire.
It makes you worry that that will provoke China into attacking.
Yes.
The current Chinese exercises in the skies and on the sea are due to finish today. Elizabeth Palmer, CBS News, Taipei.
And this just in, here at home, the Blood Bank of Hawaii is putting out an urgent call for Type O blood. The nonprofit said it's currently down to a half-day supply of Type O because of recent increased needs. So, of course, donors of all types are encouraged to make an appointment, but the blood bank says it's especially important for those with O positive and O negative blood to donate. And that's because O blood is the most needed by the hospitals. To make an appointment, visit bbh.org.
Let's give you a live look outside now. This is Salt Lake City, Utah, those beautiful snow-capped mountains. Let's take a look at our own island weather with our Guy Hagi.
The breezy trade winds will begin picking up speed later today. Right now, they're not that strong. A little windy for Kahului and Lihue. Everybody else into mostly single digits. And it's going to be relatively light for the Kona side. But these breezy winds will hang on today all the way through Thursday. And then on Friday, they'll show some signs of lightening up. And they'll be much, much weaker over the weekend. You can see them there. So we're also expecting a disturbance over the weekend that could increase the showers about the Saturday, Sunday timeframe. But until then, we'll have really nice textbook trade wind weather. That means a few morning showers for those Windward and Mauka neighborhoods mostly. Leeward side should be mostly dry. And that weather pattern will run all the way through Thursday. Wind's going to be pretty brisk and breezy, 15 to 25 miles an hour out of the east, occasionally northeast. And then on Friday, they start to slow down. Significantly slower winds, higher humidity levels due on Saturday and on Sunday.
Well, Merry Monarch Week is officially here, and the festivities in Hilo kicked off yesterday with the famed Holoku Ball, and there was also an opening ceremony at the Afukchinin Civic Auditorium. As the festival celebrates 60 years, we're looking back at its humble beginnings. It was founded in 1963 as a way to drum up economic support for Hawaii Island. The early years featured a King Kalakaua beard lookalike contest and a barbershop quartet competition and even a relay race. One thing that wasn't included, however, a hula competition. That didn't start until 1971 and was the idea of Auntie Dottie Thompson and Uncle George Naope.
Merry Monarch was kind of a flop in the old days, and nobody wanted to come, watch hula. So the county had told Auntie Dottie they don't want to continue with this anymore.
Auntie Dottie and Uncle George revitalized the festival and brought it to the next level. Financially, the festival was kept afloat by Hawaiian royal heiress Abigail Kawananakoa, whose royal lineage has ties to King David Kalakaua, who the festival honors.
And then she knew Uncle George Naope very well. So she took it upon herself to fund the Merry Monarch for years and years and years and years. And I know a lot of people don't know this, but that's what kept Merry Monarch afloat.
In 1978, the contest moved from the Afukchinen Gymnasium to what was then called the Ho'olulu Tennis Stadium next door, where its popularity continued to grow throughout the years. And as we celebrate this year's festival, we also take a moment to look back into the archives and found some pretty interesting stuff. Here's a snippet from a KGMB report of Awana Night 1983.
While the judges' scores were being tabulated, the kumuhulas, or dance teachers, took to the stage and really livened up the stadium. Here now are the festival's winners. Those who excelled in the previous evening's hula kahiko, or ancient hula, also placed high in the hula awana.
Yeah, it was so much fun to check out all of that old archive footage.
I learned so much from that. Thank you. Well, let's see what the internet's talking about. Your family's favorite iconic storageware could soon be history. That's because Tupperware is barely staying afloat. The company says it's looking for financing because it doesn't have enough cash to fund its operations. Tupperware is also exploring potential layoffs and reviewing its real estate portfolio. Now, stocks plunged 40% in pre-market trading today. The New York Stock Exchange also warned Tupperware could be delisted for not filing a required annual report. Now, the 77-year-old business has struggled to stay relevant and attract younger customers.
Well, that's disturbing to hear. You know, Ashley, I am Filipino, right?
Yes.
So, balon,
Yes.
Tupperware, every party, gotta have it.
I love it. Another story that's on the internet, a Wisconsin mom of 4 is thanking her children for saving her life. They jumped into action as she was experiencing a medical emergency. So Taylor Lumpkin has the story.
These 4 siblings, Kendra, Morgan, Jackson, and Alexis, have an unbreakable bond. And that bond just got even stronger after they all worked together to save their mom's life.
They are her hero.
Just 1 week ago, 6-year-old Jackson McDonald was sleeping in the room with his mom, April, when he woke up to the sound of the 35-year-old making strange noises in the middle of the night.
I just woke up hearing her sounding like a zombie, it sounded like she was gonna throw up.
Jackson immediately jumped out of bed and alerted his 3 sisters.
He was like, something's wrong with mommy.
That's when April's daughter Kendra came outside of their house and ran all the way down to her grandparents' house to get help, while her 2 older sisters stayed back and called 911.
And I told her it's an emergency, there's something wrong with my mom.
I come over here and I look in the bedroom. And she was having a seizure.
Doctors ended up finding a large mass the size of a tomato on April's brain. Her family says she'd been dealing with intense headaches for months. She was supposed to see a neurologist next week.
That's my hero. The doctor said had he not woken up and alerted all of them, we would be having a different conversation.
April was put into a medically induced coma and had brain surgery where doctors were able to remove most of the mass. Now awake and able to walk and talk on her own, a GoFundMe has been launched to support the mom of 4 during her road to recovery.
It's like a blessing for, to see the community really pulling together to help my daughter and my grandkids.
And let's end today with some good news now. Yes, over in Washington at the White House, the egg roll happened. Of course, there was a lot of fun, educational things, and of course, President Biden was there along with a visit from the Easter Bunny, and all the young kids there got to enjoy the fun Easter-themed festivities. President Biden is in the way. Get out of the way.
Seriously.
That's going to do it for us here, everyone. Thank you so much for watching here on this Monday afternoon.
Aloha.